welcome to Innerji, Tarot Tea, Astrology and all things metaphysical. And today we're going to be looking at Mars in Aries, which has been for some time. It's in its home sign of Aries, so it means that Mars in Aries is very strong. It's cardinal fire, so it's a very strong, direct, fiery energy. Now, normally this energy is about taking action, getting things done, just jumping in and doing. Now, on Thursday, the 10th of September, that's Australian Eastern Standard Time, Mars in Aries is going to go retrograde, and that will occur at 8:22 a.m. So what does Mars in retrograde mean? Look, a planet in retrograde, when we look at the sky, it appears to be going backwards instead of forwards in its normal orbit. Of course, in the sky, that isn't what's really happening. It just looks like that when it's seen from the view of the Earth where we're standing. So what does retrograde mean? Well, it can mean that things can slow down. It's also a good time to review, depending on what the planet is. So in the case of Mars, being that fiery cardinal energy that jumps in and just gets in and does things, this is saying with retrograde that things are going to be a bit slower. And you may find that if you've got a lot of Aries in your chart, a lot of fire in your chart, this is your birth chart I'm talking about, or if Mars is strong in your chart, this sense of slowing down could be really frustrating for you. There is a sense of obstacles and things not moving forward, so you can feel a bit at odds. But as I mentioned, the other way to look at Mars retrograde in Aries is it's a time for review. It's a time to review the things that you've been doing and perhaps looking at things from a new perspective to see if you can find a new way forward. Now, Mars is going to stay retrograde in Aries through until about the 14th of November. So we've got a fair bit of time, quite a few weeks, where we can review what it is that we're doing in our life. What is it that stimulates anger for us? Because Mars in its most negative form can be quite an angry planet. And with it being retrograde, there is the potential for fiery flare-ups of tempers over the next few weeks unless you get a handle on it. So you can use this time in a positive way, even though it's a retrograde, because retrograde in itself doesn't necessarily mean bad. So for Mars, it is a good time to review what it is that you've been doing this year and maybe look at what you've been doing from a new perspective and see perhaps if you can take it in a new direction, because that cardinal fire energy is about new beginnings, implementing new ways of doing things. So that's how you can take the Mars retrograde and use it in a more positive way. But also just be aware with this fiery energy, there is more opportunity for conflict and confrontations as well. So forewarned is forearmed, as I like to say. So to support this Mars in retrograde, if you feel that it isn't going to be a positive time for you, you can use crystals and essential oils and even tarot cards to support you. So that's what we're going to look at, and we're going to begin with looking at some crystals for assistance with this Mars in Aries that is turning retrograde from this Thursday. So let's have a look. I've chosen 5 crystals that may be of support for you during this Mars in Aries retrograde period. The bottom 2 here are red jasper and bloodstone, and these 2 crystals are among a few others that are actually associated with the planet Mars. Now, red jasper is really, really good for grounding you. It is good for stimulating your energy, so I will be marrying that up with some cooler crystals that will help cool the fire down a little bit. But we still need that grounding of red jasper, getting you out of that hot head and bringing you down to earth and calming things down. Red jasper is also a very nurturing stone in a very physical, earthy way. So that may be one stone that can be of help. Bloodstone is the other one that I have chosen. This particular example doesn't have a lot of red in it, but usually bloodstone has spots of red in it as well. And bloodstone is great for helping you stay in the present moment, stay in the here and now. Again, it also stops you from getting too hot-headed. It can also help you to avoid any dangerous situations and also help you around impatience and irritability, which has the potential to quite high with this Mars in Aries retrograde energy. So it will reduce impatience. It will also help just calm down any aggression. Mars in its most positive form is about being assertive and taking action, but in its most negative form, which can sometimes occur with retrograde, it is that it's more aggressive rather than assertive. So bloodstone will help just ground, cool, and calm that. Now, I've married these two crystals that are associated with the planet Mars and with the fire element with 3 crystals that are more related to water, and so we'll have a cooling and calming effect. So the first one is kyanite. I've got 2 forms of kyanite here. This is it in its rough form, taken out of the ground. You can see it has these striations, a little bit of glisten there. And all the striations go in one direction. So this helps to cool that hot-headed, fiery temper, which can go off like a firecracker, and bring things more into alignment. So it's a very aligning crystal. It's a very soothing crystal. And this is what it looks like when it's polished. It really is a very pretty crystal. So that can be supportive in cooling down some of those Mars fires. The other crystal I've chosen is sodalite. This is a beautiful sphere of sodalite I have. A lot of people mistake this for lapis lazuli. The main difference between sodalite and lapis lazuli is that lapis lazuli has pyrite in it. And here is some lapis lazuli that I have in a wand. And if I can get it close enough, you might see the glint of pyrite in there. So that's the main difference. Now, sodalite as a crystal is also calming and soothing. But the other great thing about sodalite, it's good for clear communication and clear, orderly and logical thinking, which can be a good energy to bring in during this Mars in Aries when it's retrograde, because once again, there is this tendency to be able to just blurt things out, the confrontation to come up, conflict to come up. So bringing in this sodalite crystal and using that as part of your toolkit for this Mars in Aries retrograde period over the next number of weeks through until about mid-November, it is going to cool you down. It is going to make you think a little more logically and not just fire off in a hot-headed fashion. The third crystal I've chosen is one of my favorites. It's Larimar. Larimar comes from the Caribbean, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Even just looking at this crystal is very soothing. So again, a calming, soothing water element crystal. It's also a crystal for nurturing. And so perhaps some nurturing might be a good idea for you as you take some time during this retrograde Mars period to review your actions of the past, to review what you're doing, but do it in a nurturing way. So this is why this crystal is another one that I've chosen to support you during this time. You can use any of these crystals on their own, or you can combine them together to make a grid. You can grid them in any shape. Let your intuition guide you. You can grid them into a circle, a triangle, a square. If you need grounding, a square is really a good grid to create. But use your own intuition about how you can place these crystals into a grid. Now let's have a look at some essential oils that might support you. So here I have the 5 oils in readiness. We have lavender, we have geranium, sage, cool-pressed sweet orange, and I'm using Roman chamomile. There are 2 types of chamomile in essential oil therapy or in aromatherapy. There is German chamomile, which has more of a blue tinge to the oil, and Roman chamomile. So they're both very soft, gentle oils, but today I've chosen the Roman chamomile. So let's make up our food. Now, lavender, sage, and Roman chamomile are sort of middle blend notes. Sage can go into a base note. If you think about perfumes have base notes, middle notes, top notes. And what that means is that the top note is usually the first aroma that you become aware of when you inhale it. It's also the first to evaporate and dissipate. So the next level down is the middle note, so that takes a bit longer. And then you have the base note, and that's the aroma that you have the longest. So lavender can be either considered a middle note or a base note, and same thing with sage. Roman chamomile is more of a middle note, and geranium is a middle note, and cold pressed sweet orange is a top note. So we've got a nice balance here of base, middle, and top notes. So let's start off with some lavender. So I'm going to start off with 4 drops of lavender in the blend. Now geranium has quite a strong aroma, so I'm just going to add 2 drops of that for now. I can add a couple more later if I feel I need to balance the blend a little bit more. And I simply do that by just doing a little inhalation test for myself. And sage. Sage, I'm going to do 4. I think I got 5 in me. That's right, meant to be. For the cold pressed sweet orange, I'm actually going to do 6 for cold pressed sweet orange because we've got a lot of middle notes in there, and that will balance that. 2, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And finishing up with some Roman chamomile, and I'm going to do 4 drops of Roman chamomile. Just get my trusty intention spoon so you can see the oil. With essential oils, that old saying less is more is definitely the case, especially if you want to use it for energetic work, spiritual work, rather than for example, easing aches and pains in the muscles. So we're just going to mix that through. And I'm just going to have a little sniff and see if I need to balance it out further. And yeah, I feel I could do another little bit of sage in there. So I'm going to put in another couple of drops of sage oil. So I've trained as an aromatherapist, so these days I rely on my sense of smell and my knowledge of aromatherapy when I'm creating things. And I am drawn putting in a couple of more drops of the cold pressed sweet orange. And let's mix that in. And do another sniff test. Oh yes. So that's a simple way of using the oils. Now, of course, just like the crystals, you can use the oils on your own. You can use your own intuition as to which ones you are drawn to. You don't have to use all 5 in the blend as I have done. You might like to blend, say, something like 4 drops of lavender with 5 drops of orange, and that will calm and make you feel light-hearted. You might like to bring in sage with geranium, and that will help you to bring out wise decisions and at the same time help you stay emotionally balanced. So that's how you can mix and match the oils. Remember, when using essential oils, don't use them undiluted on your skin, and please never ingest them unless you know what you're doing. That can be quite a dangerous thing to do, because even though they are natural, they are still very potent chemicals. For example, 1 drop of lemon oil, if you drank 1 drop of lemon oil in water, that would be like eating 30 lemons. No one needs to eat 30 lemons in one hit. And there is absolutely no need to take essential oils internally when there are many other ways that they can be used within the body. If you are going to be using these in an inhaler, whatever blend you make up, you use about 4 to 6 drops in the inhaler, and that will be plenty to be able to diffuse in quite a large space. And the final thing I'd like to share with you is how you can use tarot cards in a non-divinatory sense. In other words, not for doing readings and not for looking at the way forward. Instead, we're going to use these as focal tools to help us stay calm, to help us get through this Mars and Aries retrograde period a little more successfully. So I've chosen some cards here for you to focus on. The first one is the Knight of Cups. And as you can see with the Knight of Cups, he is holding that goblet filled with liquid very, very carefully, and he's having his horse move very carefully. So the intention for this card is that you work on containing your emotions, that you are careful about your emotions and how you don't just let fly when you get frustrated and impatient. So a great card for cooling down the hot-headed emotions that Mars energy in Aries, that fire energy in retrograde might bring about. Then we also have the Three of Wands. Now the Three of Wands represents someone who he's looking at the harbour, and these little dots here are his ships coming in. He's waiting for his ships to come into the harbour. And I've chosen this card to set the intention of having patience during these next few weeks through to mid-November. So gazing at this card, thinking about how you can be patient, how you can contain your emotions to get through this period more easily, is another great representation. The third card I've chosen is the Temperance card, and this is about finding emotional balance. That's the intention for this card, is to not only be careful about your emotions and become more patient during this period, but also to feel more balanced and centered emotionally within yourself. The final card I've chosen as an intention for the coming weeks with retrograde Mars is the Queen of Pentacles. And this is about you taking a slow and steady approach, because Pentacles are about physically doing things. So this is about taking a slow and steady approach to review what you have been doing, to review what has been working and what isn't, so that you can consider a new way of being as Mars then starts to move direct again in mid-November. You can use these as meditation tools. You can use them just purely as reminders to glance at, to remind you of your intentions, of how, when combined with using the essential oils and the crystals, or used individually, you can more successfully travel through this period of Mars in Aries when it's retrograde, which of course, just as a reminder, starts this Thursday at 8:22 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time and runs through until about the 14th of November. I do hope this has been helpful. I hope that you will use these tools and tips, and if you have been using them as the weeks go by, please feel free to put some comments below and let me know how you're doing with them. Until next time, namaste.